All right, time has come for me to answer some of the questions you guys have asked. First, I'd like to thank Kyle for giving me this idea. It took a lot more thought to put into this than I had anticipated, but I think this is awesome. So to answer Kyle's question first, he said he envies that I'm able to travel so much. Where are you heading next, and where is the place you want to go above all others? Next, I guess there's two things. I'm heading to California for a USA Beach Volleyball Sports Medicine Summit, which is our annual meeting, and after that, I'm heading to Vitória, Brazil for one of our first beach volleyball events for the year. My other assignment is in Poland this year, so I know I'll be there definitely. Next is Kimmy Meyer. Do you still have the video of someone's 21st birthday? I think there's only one epic video that was taken on somebody's 21st birthday, and I actually think it might still be at my parents' house. I don't know if we want to watch it, but I think it's there. From Jeff. I realize that I no longer have the ability to perform the way I did when I was in my 20s. However, this doesn't stop me from trying to compete against those young ones. How do you continue to keep that drive and ability to outperform those 10 plus years younger than you? And do you see a time when you just say, well, I'm past my prime, nothing I can do about it? Well, I'm 32, and I definitely envy those girls whose knees can like bounce out of the bottom of squats and pistols like I can't. I think a good example was at the Wodapalooza. We had 70 pistols, 50 GHD sit-ups, 30 heavy overhead squats, and then 100-foot handstand walk. And I was on pistol number 42 of 70, and many girls were already on the GHD. And I think the older you get, the more you have to be smart about how you approach what you're gonna do. I think your recovery has to be there. I think mentally you have to know your body more. When you're younger, you can push through things that you can't when you get older. So you need to be able to read your body and know when to push and know when to pull back. By the way, those girls that beat me to the GHD sit-ups, I beat all of them in that workout. So it came down to mentally knowing my body and where I was the strongest and pushing through the overhead squats and handstand walks when I couldn't push through the rest of the things. To follow up on Jeff's second part of his question, do you see a time when you just say, well, I'm past my prime, nothing I can do about it? Well, I think prime is a relative term. You can compete in things your whole life. Can you compete at a professional level your whole life? No, but that's why they started having age groups, because we're finding that people 40 plus, 50 plus, 60 plus can oftentimes outsmart or outperform those that are younger than them. This one's from Marty. Would you date a guy that squats, quote, full deep competition, less than you? Well, my squat is 260, going up to 270 here pretty soon. I think so, yes, as long as they are moving right and have similar goals and aspirations that I do. Holly Headland. When you were a little girl, what did you want to be when you grew up? I think initially when I grew up, I actually wanted to be a teacher. And I found out as I grew up, I wanted to teach those that really wanted to learn what I wanted to teach. So that's where coaching kind of comes in, and I think the CrossFit coach kind of fell into it because for the most part, nobody's forcing you to be here, nobody's parents are telling you have to go do this, you have to play this sport, nobody is yelling at me as the coach because their kid isn't playing enough or something like that. And so I think that if everybody's striving to be like the best that they're gonna do and they're gonna be, that's what makes me happy. I think I still want to teach at some point. I've done a few clinic abroads where I've had the opportunity to teach students, other chiropractic students. And I think if and when my body doesn't want to do what I'm doing as a physicality part of the job, I definitely think I want to teach college level or up though. I definitely want the people that are in my class to want to be there. Oh, Erica, where do you hope life takes you in the next 10 years? Well, if you would have asked me 10 years ago where I thought I'd be today, this is the furthest thing from it. But I can say that in 10 years, hopefully I'll have a business that's flourishing and maybe expand to another location so that we can impact others how we have impacted the people that are here now. I hope that I get married, and let's see, 10 years puts me at 42, so I hope to have had a kid by then too, because otherwise I'm running out of time. And I just hope that I can kind of live the free-spirited, like, travel when and where I want, and really work on saving money and putting it towards travel and experiences rather than things, because I think time and experiences is what makes me rich. Ashley Bishop. All right. What is one thing you love about your body and why? I think if you, and you didn't know me 5 years ago, but I've always been a very active person, and I think the thing I love about my body is that I can constantly challenge it and find out new things that I'm capable of. I don't have a particular body part or thing that I love about my body, but I think the coolest thing about my body is that I've been able to transform it into a vehicle to do so many more things than I ever thought possible. 3 years ago, I could do a pull-up. Okay, I could do a couple pull-ups by this time, 3 years ago. And I never thought what I'm doing now was a possibility. It was what the crazy people did on TV. So I think the fact that it's my vehicle and a way of expressing myself is what I love about my body, and it can inspire others. Maggie's comment, what has been the most enjoyable moment while competing this year so far? Wow. I think for me, it would be at the Fittest Games. There was some pretty good competition there, and I definitely think it's a good setup with 650 athletes, so it's not so overwhelming, but there was a good group of pros there, so I qualified pro. And I had done fairly well in that competition. I had stumbled a little bit on the 80-pound dumbbell snatches, and they announced the last event of heavy sled pushes and 125-pound squat snatches. And I was touch and going my squat snatches, and everybody else was dropping theirs, and I finished like almost a minute in front of all of the other girls. And to have the gal who won the pro division be like, dang, who's that girl doing touch and go snatches next to me? I just knew it was in my wheelhouse, and I told my judge, I said, you better get ready because this one's mine. And having, after I was done, having pro athletes such as Brooke Wells say, man, Miguel, that was really impressive. That was a pretty cool experience. All right. Question from Mark Hedlund. What has been the biggest setback in your career? I think shortly after I graduated from chiropractic school, I was at a conference, and I quickly found out that there's definitely a good old boys club, and in the world of sports chiropractic, there's not a lot of female providers that do what I do and travel and try and balance everything. And I think one of the biggest setbacks initially was that there was no weaseling my way in, and that big setback also became probably something that has been something I've used to my advantage, because if you have to fight and scramble and kick and do whatever you need to do to get where you want to go, you might have to do that. And sometimes, it's nice to have people that but if you can't be in the good old boys club, then you create your own club. And there's a few female sports docs and we call ours the Wolf Pack. So we've made our own club, and I think that's been something that's really helped me learn how to fight for what I want to do in my career. Oh, Joy Solem, what is your favorite childhood memory? I think it's a collaboration of a lot of memories, but I think probably spending Sunday nights on the end of the dock watching the sunset and kind of having that to look forward to every Sunday in my summer was probably like a collaboration of my favorite childhood memories. Heather Ricks, what do you do when you're not exercising? In the past, I used to do a lot of things. This past year, I've basically work I'm at the gym, or I sleep. I don't actually watch TV. My dad gave me a TV when I bought my house. I don't really have time to watch TV, and that's okay with me. But I love anything to do with traveling or adventures or being in the outdoors. So whether it's snowboarding, skiing, backpacking, hiking, just going for a walk outside, anything outdoors is what I like to do. And I guess that's kind of exercising too. I like playing cards. It doesn't happen very often, but I like playing cards. All right, Jennifer Armenta, you have a few of them. What is the weirdest thing you've done on a date? Well, I was 25, I don't know how old I was, but I was at an internship in Texas, and I actually went on a date with an orthodontist, and 5 minutes into the date, he said, oh, you had braces when you were younger, and they didn't fix your bottom tooth. So that was a very interesting date. He critiqued my teeth in the first 5 minutes of our date, and we went to like a Six Flags, and but he hates roller coasters and rides, so I went on most of them by myself. So I thought that was kind of a weird thing for a date. Who's influenced me the most outside of my family? That one's hard. I'm going to come back to that one. Josh Nagowski. How do you find the balance between fitness, diet, work, and personal? That's a tough one. When I am traveling with beach volleyball or anything, it makes it really difficult to try and find that balance when I don't have all of everything I need at my fingertips. When I'm at home, I like finding Sundays, particularly to be my food prep day. I will bust out 4 hours. My kitchen's a complete disaster, and I make all these little containers of all these meals that I can eat all week. That way I know I'm getting the nutrients that I need, and I can definitely tell the weeks that I don't have that. I prep enough so that I can typically freeze a lot of it, and that helps too. Fitness. I'd say some people say I have a skewed balance of fitness. I'm the fittest I've probably ever been in my life, and I think probably the healthiest I've probably ever been in my life too. But to some people that would be a balance that is maybe too much based on fitness. But at this point in my life, I like where I am in my fitness. I actually schedule it into my calendar. So I schedule patients into my calendar, I schedule my fitness into my calendar, I schedule my recovery into my calendar, and I do my best to stick to that. As far as personal life goes, I have a better personal life when I'm outside of the state, so I can actually just get away from work. That's something that I think is a work in progress. I do my best to schedule personal life things in as well. For me, I am probably a little less spontaneous than I used to be, just because I have a lot of things going on. So if you ask me to do something, I probably will say yes, but I might say in a week and a half I can do this, and I'm not coaching and I don't have patients and nothing's scheduled. So it just takes a little bit more planning than before. Mike Miller, what's your advice for someone who wants to do more competitions and be more competitive in them? Well, there's definitely a physical aspect to competing that you have to have, but if you don't have the right mentality and the right mindset as to why you want to compete, then I think that's kind of a moot point. You have to know your why. Simon Sinek wrote a book, and it says it starts with why. And you have to know the why before the how and the what. And I think a lot of people just like to know the what. But if you don't have like an intrinsic goal, like something that resides in you about why you want to compete, then nothing you do physically is really going to matter anyway. I feel like last year during the CrossFit Open, I lost my why a little bit. I really wanted to do the what. I wanted to go to regionals because I did in 2014, and it became a lot less fun. And so I started centering myself around, like, I want to compete, but I can't lose sight of, like, I love training with a team. I love training with others, and I had to get back to knowing why. Like, I wanted to compete because I want to know what my physical limitations are. And when I started comparing myself to other people, I started losing that. And so as long as you know your why, then you can learn the how and the what. So a lot of it is mental strategy and knowing yourself, and then set your goals based on that, your physical goals based on that. All right, Chris Culver, how have you handled injury, if at all? Well, I have had a lot of injuries in my life, which is why I think I am a sports chiropractor now. I've had completely blown out my ankle, and as a freshman in high school and as a junior, which was pretty rough. I subluxed my elbow, which they said I'd be out for 8 weeks, and my sports chiropractor at home had me back in less than 2. I've had a stress fracture in my low back, which is called a spondylolisthesis, which was a grade 1. We think it's from when I was pole vaulting in high school, and after that, I went to grad school, and I ended up having a bad snowboarding crash, and that slipped to a grade 3, and I ruptured a disc in my low back. And so it's like I broke my back and I ruptured a disc. I had a lot of nerve damage for about 4 months, and that was a pretty big setback for me, and I don't know that mentally I handled that as well as I could have, because I didn't really have the tools to do it back then. I broke 3 ribs 5 weeks before our CrossFit Regionals in 2014, 5.5 weeks actually. Didn't realize I broke them, and I tried to train through it until I had an MRI and definitely broke 3 of them. The summer of 2014, I tore my PCL in my left knee playing sand beach volleyball. Don't really know how that happened. And then I finally got back to training. I was down at CrossFit Invictus, and I took my active recovery day, just doing another workout, nothing to do with CrossFit, and I broke my foot. So I moved back to Minnesota and started a business on a broken foot, which was a little rough. But I think CrossFit's actually helped me handle injuries better than prior to CrossFit. When I hurt my back, I was doing triathlons and running, and when I broke my back, I literally, I had nothing. I had no goals because I couldn't do anything. With the ribs, the knee, and the foot, with CrossFit, I always had other things that I could work on. I could set a different goal because it's about, being the most fit person. And yeah, if my foot was broken, it was fine. But I could work on my upper body. I could work on things that were weaknesses and turn them into strengths. So I took it as an opportunity rather than as a setback. Of course, it's always a setback, but if you can find a positive in it and work on other weaknesses, I think that helped me get through my injuries a lot better. Okay, Brandon Clifton. How long did it take to gain a decent amount of muscle, and what helped the process? I've had other people ask me this too. I've always been a thicker individual, so I've always been a little bit bigger or thicker, however you want to put it. I started CrossFit 3 years ago, and if you look at my pictures, I had muscle, but definitely not anywhere near I do today, I guess. I think the training aspect is one of it, but definitely the nutritional component, making sure that you have enough protein and fats in your diet, and the right kind of carbohydrates, and the right kind of carbohydrates at the right time. A little bit during your training, pre-training, and don't have a lot of the excess. I think you'll find a lot more muscle building will happen in that process. All right, Joyce Leslie, what's your favorite go-to dinner when you come home tired and don't want to cook after a long day? Well, I'll tell you what it would be. It would be nachos with chicken on them, which is why I don't keep shredded cheese or chips in my house, because I would make that every night. My go-to dinners, I actually just eat dinner with food I food prepped over the weekend. So most of the time it's chicken, some vegetables, and a part of sweet potato, or turkey quinoa tacos that I just warm up to put over a bed of mixed greens, or a crock pot meal with meat and veggies. So it's already normally prepped. I normally don't make it at the end of the day. So it's not a lot of help there. Jessica Burrows. Were you ever bad at CrossFit? Welcome to the scale division. I would say, yeah, there was a time I was bad at CrossFit. I had no idea what I was doing. I walked into CrossFit Venture in Vail, Colorado, and Sam and Melissa and Natalie took good care of me. And took me through a movement screen, and I would say that they would think that I was fairly bad at it 3 years ago, whenever that was. They asked me to put my toes to the bar, and I was like, you want me to do what? And they asked if I could do a handstand, and I was really excited because I learned how to do those when I was little. And then they asked about a handstand push-up, and I thought they were absolutely insane. So I would say, yeah, there's a time I was bad at CrossFit. I did one scaled competition, and I won that one, and they said I could never do a scaled competition again, so that forced me to learn how to do muscle-ups so I could be in an RX competition. Gretchen, would you rather be a player or a coach? It's so rough to decide this. So I'm actually like a very intense competitor, but I'm like a composed competitor. I think if you or any of my athletes, when I coach, my intensity is like a little over the top because I want people to do as best as they can possibly do, and I get so like probably overly excited for them. So actually my heart rate and everything is much more controlled as the player or the athlete than it is as the coach. But I love both things because I love coaching and watching people reach their goals, and the other side of it too, I also have my goals. So I don't have a either or answer for that one. Gretchen, another one. What's something you miss? I miss our crazy travel adventures because we need another one of those because you've been all over the world. What's your worst habit? Working too much is really a bad habit. What is one song you could listen to nonstop? Anything from Mumford & Sons. I really, really like them. And who is the one person, living or dead, that you would want to talk to? I think that I would love to go back and talk to my grandpa on my mom's side about some of his time that he spent in the war as a medic. He died when I was 17, and I didn't really have the knowledge to ask him about his experiences, nor did he really want to talk to him until right before he died. So I think I'd like to talk to him about that and learn about his experiences there. Nick Klausnitzer, how did you get into CrossFit? And what made you fall in love with it, assuming you love it? I actually walked into CrossFit Venture in Vail, Colorado, to work with active people as like a patient base, and they sort of looped me into trying it out, and they said you have to try it out for 2 weeks. And after 2 weeks, I loved it because it was challenging. Everything about it was challenging. It really bothered me that a girl that weighed 110 or 120 pounds was squatting more than me, and I weighed a little bit more than that. And it was something that I didn't get bored with. And so that's why I loved CrossFit, because as soon as you think you have something, there's something else that you don't have. And it's this constant evolution of trying to be better than the person you were yesterday, and just measuring things upon yourself, not on other people, I think is the coolest thing about it. It's unlike any other sport versus, like, say, basketball. Say I played in the state final basketball game. I can never get that back. Even if I become a better basketball player, I can never get that back. Whereas in CrossFit, there's ways that you can constantly keep measuring. Like, I can take my Fran time, my first Fran time of like 10 minutes 3 years ago, down to 7 minutes, down to 5 minutes, down to 3 minutes, and I don't know that it's 3. My last recorded one was like 4.5. But you can remeasure things, and you can retest things, and you can see that improvement. And so that's why I think I love CrossFit. Becca Wiechek, this is going back to our childhood, to be honest. What was your favorite and your least favorite baton costume we wore? We wore some pretty funny ones, but I think my favorite one is when we were in a Halloween thing, and we were the Trick or Treat duet, and we got to wear those like little orange things, and I don't even know if I was trick or treat, but I liked that costume, I guess. Elizabeth Hoekstra. How many weddings have you been a bridesmaid in? It's like 10 or 11. I was trying to do the math in my head, but I think it is 11. Yeah. And Nick Glasnitzer again. If you got married tomorrow, who is the maid of honor? You are really trying to stir up some business here. Maid of honor, I think the person who probably knows me the best right now, and she might not live close to me, but I have friends from all over, is probably Ashley Vogel out in Washington. From Aaron Oslin, what is your recovery routine, specifically timing of recovery tools and supplements? So I can tell you that I try and swim every Thursday or Friday, depending upon when I fit it in. I think that has been a really good range of motion thing for me. And I like to get yoga in 1 day a week. I was doing hot yoga every Wednesday, except they canceled my class at noon that I scheduled my life around. So I'm in need of another one, but I've been doing yoga every Sunday that I'm home at EHP, or I have a pocket yoga. It's actually on an app on my phone that I use as well. After a heavy leg day, whether that's running, lunges, squats, whatever that might be, I sit in the Normatec boots for about 25 minutes in the recovery room. And if my legs are super stiff before I squat or do anything like that, I spend about 5 minutes on the power plate, doing squats, lunges, balancing, things like that. I foam roll minimally, unless I'm really sore. I like to spend my time doing functional movement things, so I will crawl around in many different animal pattern, flow movements. I like to make everything as active recovery as possible. As far as food, I make sure I eat right after I work out. I do use Progenics protein shake, like right after I'm done working out. Depends upon what time of day it is. If it's in the morning, I do 2 scoops of more muscle. If it's in the afternoon or evening, I do a scoop of more muscle and a scoop of recovery all together. The more muscle just has branched chain amino acids in it. So I just, depending upon when timing is when I take that. And that's really it. I listen to my body on when I can push and when I can't, and I think that's probably the most important thing for recovery. I don't know how I forgot this, but on a recovery standpoint, I don't think of it as recovery, but more of like a preventative basis. Every 2 weeks, I go to the chiropractor that I see and just get everything checked over and make sure that I'm functioning on all cylinders. And then the other 2 weeks during my month, I typically get a full body massage. Sometimes it's not full body. Sometimes we focus on certain areas. Deep tissue right here at EHP from Hope. She's one of the better massage therapists I've ever had in my entire life, and I've had a lot of them. So that deep tissue massage and chiropractic really helps on a preventative basis. So although you wouldn't consider it direct recovery, I definitely consider it recovery. All right, Jennifer Armenta, you had some tough ones, so I had to think about them. Who has influenced you the most outside of your family? Well, this person actually is a family member, but she's my aunt, but she was also a coach. And my Aunt Karen was my basketball coach in high school. And I learned why she influenced me so much as a coach, actually, when I took a sports psychology class. And I realized why we really liked her as a coach when I took that class. She had a very composed way about her. She knew that exactly how to prep us before a game. You can't make any crazy changes in a game. You prep your athletes before that. And she had a very calm demeanor about her. She didn't yell at you. She yelled to encourage, to push you, to get you to perform your best. But it was never yelling at somebody. And I think that was a really good influence for me. What thing are you embarrassed about that you want to try? I would like to try gymnastics because I never really got to do it as a kid. I begged my parents to do it. It was really expensive and it was a long ways to drive, and they knew I was really competitive and I was going to be too big to be a gymnast probably anyway. But I would like to try gymnastics. But the places in Fargo, you have to be like under the age of 23, so I'm a little bit too old for that. What was the last lie you told? I'm a really bad liar. Like, you can see it all over my face. But I did maybe not tell the whole truth about how I got this dimple on my face. Doug Shinstrom will get a kick out of this one. It actually happened a couple years ago. Went backpacking and were up in the Enchantment and came across some neighbors who had stumbled across some, I don't even know, like Absolute vodka and Jameson. I don't even know what it was. Doug would know. And they were passing it around, and they were mostly like 23, 24. And I was like, no, I don't want that. And finally I got peer pressured at the like age of 29 or 30, however old I was, and had too much to drink. And I got up to like go to the bathroom, and I tripped over the log I was sitting on, and I hit my face on another log, and got my dimple. And I told some other people that I had just tripped while backpacking, which wasn't totally false, but the backpack wasn't on me, and I had drank too much and tripped and got my dimple on my face. It's just, I'm glad it's in the right spot. What is your strangest pet peeve? I have this thing, like when people drink water and they backwash into their water, I think that's just pour it in your mouth and like be done with it. Like, but when they suck on water bottles and let the water come back down, oh, I just cannot, I can't handle it. That's it.